Okay, it gives us great pleasure to welcome John Thorpe to give us an address on the history of cinemas in Gawler. Welcome, John.
Is that working now? Yeah. I haven't slept for the last 2 weeks thinking about this. So thanks for inviting me along anyway. Yeah, Brian's right. I have been there for 26 years plus, I think, now. So what I thought of doing, this has been a learning curve for me as well, because I didn't know anything about the other theatres. So I've had to sit down and research and read them. So, but what I'd like to do first, I found something just at the early pioneer days of the cinema industry, not necessarily in Gawler, but I'll come to that in a second. But just to give you some idea where the first theatre was in Australia, what the first major film was in Australia, and I'll just read it to you. The Australian film history has been characterised as one of boom and bust due to the unstable cycle nature of its industry. There have been deep troughs when few films were made, and for decades, and high peaks when a glut of films were made. The Athenaeum Hall in Collins Street, Melbourne, was a dance hall from the 1880s, and which from time to time would provide alternative entertainment to patrons. In October 1896, it exhibited its first movie shown in Australia, with a year of the first public screening of a film in Paris on the 28th of December. In 1895, by the French Lumiere brothers, the Athenaeum would continue screenings, but these early screenings were all short films, and the earliest feature-length narrative film in the world was the Australian-produced The Story of the Kelly Gang in 1906. The film was written and directed by Charles Tate and included several of his family in the film. The film was exhibited in the United Kingdom and commercially very, very successful. So the first feature film, movie film, talking film in Australia was basically the Kelly Gang. But back to Gawler, and as I say, I knew nothing of this until I started reading it. But according to the Coombs History of Gawler, the first appearance of some sort of movie theatre was in 1897. But there was earlier screenings on a regular basis at the Gawler Institute, which over the years operated under several names, notably the Strand and the Century. There are no dates available of the opening or closing dates of that place. White Star Pictures, run by Mr. Bert Carsons, opened at the old Anglican Hall at Gawler South on October the 3rd, 1914, 103 years ago, 2 days ago. A naming competition was held for the new purpose-built outdoor theatre that was getting built on the corner of Lindop Road and Murray Street, and the winner was to get £1 guinea. And this theatre was called The Lyric. The silent films and the musical accompaniment provided by pianist Miss Ormsby and violinist Mr. Teddy Henselroder. The films continued to show there in competition with the Institute. The shows of The Lyric continued until the 20th of January 1923, approximately 9 years. Another cinema opened at the southern end of Murray Street called the Astral. They also ran silent films, and Mr. Langbein was also one of the musicians. In later years, the theatre was operated by Mr. Laycock, and when patrons were looking for a better theatre, it was used as a dance hall. Here we go. In 1934, Regal Amusements Limited, consisting of a Mr. Boyce, and this is uncanny because my mother's maiden name is Boyce, and others began the construction of the Regal Theatre on the corner of Carlton Road and Murray Street. The circuit was named the National Theatres and was built on land occupied by James Martin's foundry. The price was approximately $30 per foot, and an expected finishing price of approximately £25,000. The Regal Theatre was taken over by several different owners who then sold it to Waterman's. The seating capacity was 619. The Waterman's circuit renamed the theatre Ozone. There were some well-known names there, such as Brendan Rusby's father, Brenton Rusby, his wife Coral, Mrs. Zucker, Bob Bloom, Roy Bullock, Tom Harvey, to name a few. The theatre consisted of a downstairs stall, large candy bar, upstairs dress circle and a lounge. In its heyday, you had to book your seats early to get in. The Ozone won a prize in the 60s for the best country theatre. Monday and Tuesday was the same films each night, a short movie, an interval, then the full feature. Wednesday night was Ranch Night, Cowboys and Indians. Saturdays was matinees for the children, and they had cartoons. And if you had your birthday there as a child, you'd have your name put up on the screen so you could see your name up there. It's a good idea for me, someone. Yeah. In the 60s, Gawler High had their end-of-year speech day on stage, and the top students were presented with their books. So it's had a bit of a history there. Watermans had earlier sold the ozone to Hoyts, who renamed it the Hoyts ozone. It is said because of the arc lamps in the projection room, the temperature would get sometimes to 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. In the 60s, black and white televisions came on the scene and saw the decline of cinemas throughout Australia. It was decided at the ozone to remove the first 2 rows of seats and bring the numbers down to 500, because under the new state law, under 500 seats you didn't need to have a fireman in the projection room. Then there was the introduction of colour TVs. More cinemas were forced to close their doors, and the Hoyts ozone closed for the last time on May 27th, 1967. Then in October, the front of the cinema was converted into shops. The cinema had run for 33 years. Hence, in May 1980, I opened my first video store in Gawler in the theatre, not knowing it, and that was Video 1. Just finish on this one, the rest of it I don't have to read. In conclusion, all cinemas played a very important role for the entertainment in Gawler, and due to the fact of the hotels closing at 6 o'clock, bringing on the so-called 6 o'clock swill, this really only left the Saturday night dances, where I'm sure a lot of the Gawler marriages were born. So that's the bit I've had to learn myself on. There was 5 cinemas here in Gawler, and then there was mine. But back in probably about 1989, I'd already had the video shop up and running, and I didn't know I was in the cinema at that stage. I just thought it was a little shop I got from a shoemender that was working, retiring from there. And I went over to England for a holiday and went back to my hometown, Barnet, and my local theatre, which was a 1-screen cinema, had been converted into 3, and underneath was a massive big video library. And I thought, wow, what a good idea, a video shop and a cinema, get the best of both worlds. Yeah. So I came back, and then we moved down to the Movieland store opposite the Kingsford Hotel, which is a Spy Homes now. We had that for a couple of years, and then I got approached by an English lord from Narracall who said, if I built you a purpose-built video shop down the southern end of Murray Street, would you move? He said, I really need to lift that end of the street up, it's dead. There was plenty of car parking, but no one was down there. So I said, yes, I'd come down there, but would you build me a cinema? He went, oh, that's a good idea. So hence, we built the video shop first. Yeah. We built the video shop first, we moved in, and then a year later, we were actually, they were building the first part of the Cinema 1. And in the meantime, I was so busy, I was like, I got a job with Brian Samples doing outback tours while they were putting up the theatre. So I left the video shop to my ex-wife and did that for a year while it was being finished. But the whole time it was going, this was only Cinema 1. And the uncanny thing about it is when I came from England, I was a carpet layer. I got sponsored out here. And one of my first jobs, apart from the Festival Theatre, was to lay the carpets in the 2 Greater Union theatres down Highney Street. There used to be one on either side of the road. And there was red carpet in one and blue carpet in the other. Well, ironically, when we opened the cinema, we bought the red carpet from that cinema because it was closing down. We got the toilet doors, we got everything from there. It wasn't me, it was the project manager that was involved, Dan Matthews. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him. And so we progressed to build the theatre, but I had to go to council first and put an application in. And at the time, I was a councillor on council, so I thought this would be easy. Yeah. So I put an application in. I spoke to Bob Orders, who was the town planner at the time, and I told him where I wanted to put it. I told him where I wanted to put it, and he went, John, that is magnificent. He said, we need a cinema in Gawler. I don't think we'd had one for 27 years at that stage. And he said, we can make use of that car parking, and you can use the parklands opposite the ambulance station. So I thought, beautiful. So put the application in. I had to leave the chamber because of a conflict of interest, and walked back in again, and they said, yes, your cinema one has been approved. I went, wow, thank you. Subject to you paying $42,000 into the car parking fund. And I've only got one screen. Right? So I went, oh. And they said, you're not allowed to open until 7 o'clock any night of the week. I went, wow. I said, where do you think I'm going to get $42,000 from if I can only have a 7 o'clock and a 9 o'clock film? I said, you've made no allowance for the unemployed, you made no allowance for senior citizens, you made no allowance for school children. Yeah, I went, oh, we better rethink this one. Yeah, so a couple of months later, it was all passed. I still had the $42,000 around my head. And then when we put the application in to build Cinema 2, that passed in all right, but I got $10,500 for not enough car parking for Cinema 2. And they didn't give me one single solitary car park. You know. So here I am, $52,500, you know, with a cinema, which, you know, it was hard to get off the ground at that stage. But we managed it, we got it going. And it was, well, 1991, I think we opened the place. And it was going really, really well. I kept saying, before we opened, I said to the English lord who lived in Narracall, I said, how much is the rent going to be? And Dan Matthews, who was the project manager, said, John, don't worry, they're nice people, don't worry. 10 o'clock the night before we're due to open, I got a knock on the door, we're in bed. There you go, there's your lease, sign it or you don't open tomorrow. Yeah, I went, wow, that's a bit tough. And the rent was $22,000 a month.
Oh.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, $22,000 a month, and I was paying $10,500 a month for the video shop. Yeah, but it was relevant because there was no other cinema around. The nearest one was Tea Tree Plaza, and they had 6 screens. There was no Salisbury, and there was no Elizabeth. Yeah, so and we were earning good money. Our first film we had, I was in America, and my cousin rang me up and he said, John, and I'm a bit of an Indian buff. He said, John, you must go and see this new film come out with Kevin Costner, called Dances with Wolves. Yeah. So, and it had been out a year already. So I went to see it in Miami and got into the theatre. I was the only one sitting there for the first minute, and then the whole place packed up. It was packed solid, and it was absolutely amazing. I thought, I'm going to have that film for my first opening day at Gawler Cinema. And we came back and got the cinema finished. I got in touch with, I tried Mel Gibson first, because his wife comes from South Australia, to see whether he'd come and open the theatre for us, and he was busy. So I ended up ringing Dean Semler because I wanted Dances with Wolves, and I spoke to him for quite a while, but he was going off to Africa to make another film, so I couldn't get him. So we ended up with nobody. I think I opened it myself actually. And you know, the very first day we were opening, we had a queue right up Murray Street, and people were coming in, and then everyone was just about to go and get seated, and the fire brigade decided they wanted to check out the exhaust fans. And we spent weeks cleaning the place up, imagine all the dust. And so they came in, turned the exhaust fans on, the curtains got sucked up onto the ceiling, dust everywhere. We had to turn everybody away. So we got it all cleaned up in the evening. We sold out for the first night, and I think Bruce came along on that night. And got into the film, and then all of a sudden went, the film snapped, first night. So I got upstairs, there's film all over the floor, so, you know. So no, we got that all back together again, screened it, and then we just carried on from there. So it really, really took off, and it was a very, very good film. But a few years later, Marion, well, I started the Saturday Morning Kids Club. Everybody said that would never work. Well, that's the best thing anyone can say to me, that won't work, because then I'll try even harder at it. Yeah. And we started it up, and I got noted throughout Australia as the only cinema in Australia that could have 240 people at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And it used to be packed solid every Saturday morning for the children. And we used to have cartoons first, and then we had a ventriloquist up on stage, and then the movies. And that went really, really well. But I remember I went out and bought a Mickey Mouse, or I got a Mickey Mouse outfit made, big head, you know, and pants and braces, and then also got a dress made so it could be Minnie Mouse if you wanted, you know. And my son used to dress up for me every Saturday morning and go in there and be Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse. And one morning I had a big argument with him. He went, Dad, stuff your Mickey Mouse. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Yeah. So I had to try and climb into this outfit. And there's 240 people in there, and all I walked in the back of the theatre, and then someone said, "Here's Mickey Mouse!" And all these kids jumped up and they ran towards me, and you're not allowed to talk. And they ran towards me, and one of these little girls grabbed me around the legs, and she went, "Oh, you're a fat Mickey, aren't you?" And you're not allowed to answer because you're not supposed to talk. So I only did it once. But no, that was really, really good. But then a few years later, Salisbury opened up, and that hurt us a little bit. Then TT Plaza went in and put an extra 3 screens over there, so that gave them 9, 8 in Salisbury. That was up against our 2. And then along came Marion, because South Australia lost the Grand Prix, so they had to come up with something better. So they built the 30-screen complex down at Marion, which was great for South Australia, but all of us little independents got starved of all of our films. We couldn't get a film. Whereas once upon a time, everyone would have, say, Star Wars, or with Marion, they would take in 15 Star Wars, you know, and leaving some on the floor in some cases just to keep the opposition from getting the film. And so I went 3 years not knowing what film I was having next week, and I just got deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. And I don't mind saying this because it's in the book if anyone's read it. I was at one stage I was $250,000 behind with the rent. I was $100,000 overdrawn, and I had no idea. I used to get up in the middle of the night, get the calculator out, and no matter how I hit it, it just wouldn't work, you know. So consequently, I was lucky that I built the National Bank at Newry a few years earlier, so I sold that and paid back the landlord, paid back the overdraft, and then he approached me and said, "Would you like to buy the building?" And I said, "Yes." And most people would have probably said no, you know, I'm just getting out of that fix. So we bought it, and but because Marion was still taking all these films, Joy come to work for me for a while, or started to come to work for me, and she said, "I'll come and work with you if you let me change it around." I went, "Oh, okay." She said, "We're going to get rid of Coke." I went, "We can't get rid of Coke." She said, "We're going to have Pepsi." I went, "Okay." "We're going to get rid of this ice cream, we're going to change the ice cream." So she actually spun the whole thing around, tipped it upside down, and it really come good. It started getting better. We started to get our films back that we wanted, but we had to go outside the square. We couldn't just be a cinema. So we started doing beer, wine and pizza nights, chicken and champagne nights. We started our silver screenings, which was a mere fluke. But I know some of you come to our silver screenings, but we were going to build another 2 cinemas next door in a little cottage next to us. And believe it or not, we can get a 320-seat cinema at the back and a 125-seat cinema at the front, you know, and that would have given us 4 cinemas. But again, went back to council, could put all the plans in, and 420,000 into the car parking fund for not enough car parking, and the architects wanted 98,000 to oversee the project, and it was $500,000 before he even got going. So that just canned that one, you know. But we carried on with all of our functions, and I've got written down some of this, and I had to erase this today because we're in school holidays and we've been absolutely flat chat. And if anybody drives past in the morning, you can see the buses out the front there. You know. But you know, we started doing high teas. Melbourne Cup was a classic. You know, every year I used to say to Joy, "I'll take you out for lunch." He said, "Okay, where are we going?" I said, "I'll find somewhere." And then about 12 o'clock, one person would walk into the theatre. I went, you know, so we couldn't go. So Joy said, "Well, why don't you put the Melbourne Cup on? You've got the cinema, you've got your antennas and whatever." So I went, "Okay," so we put it on. It's about 6 years now. Yeah. And we sell out every year. You know, we get more than some of the pubs get in for the Melbourne Cup. And it's a really good morning. You arrive at 10:30, you have a complimentary champagne, then the movie, whatever movie we choose for the morning, then straight after that there's lunch, and then we put the races up on the screen. And it's a really comfortable, fun day out. You know. But then what else do we do here? We had chick flick nights, and like I say, we've been doing the AFL Grand Finals, soccer matches during the night. High teas, I thought you had them on the roof. I didn't know what they were. So that surprised me, that one. But again, they sell out. Every time Joy puts on a high tea, and she does all the cooking at home herself, nothing is bought in. And again, they sell out all the time. So they're very, very good. But going back to the early days, some of the people we've had there, I mean, the very first country music show we had up in Gawler, I had the gospel, Sunday morning gospel service on with the singers, country music singers, and I thought, oh, this is going to be boring. I had to be down there at 7 o'clock in the morning. And this is when I first met Becky Cole. You know, she came out on stage. You heard of Becky Cole? Mm. Yeah. She came out on stage, Carol Sturcell's daughter, run-down shoes, boots, black teeth, scruffy hair, untidy as hell. But when she got up on stage, could she sing? And my mate was the state manager for WA Records, and I rang him up. I said, Martin, I said, I've got this woman at the cinema. She's got the best voice you'll ever hear. He said, what's she sing? I said, country. He went, nah, not interested in that. Well, she's got about 7 or 8 golden guitars now. One of the most popular female singers in Australia. Yeah. We had Smokey Dawson come in with his wife and sat down and watched a movie. Yeah. Bob Francis came up one day to do a talk, and he was absolutely brilliant. So we've had a few go through there, but let's look here. No. Let's say we've gone outside the square. We've had a wedding there. Someone got married. I had to dress up in a grass skirt and coconuts. Yeah, she wanted me as dressed up for her. We've had christenings there. The only thing we haven't had there is a funeral, but I'm not planning that one yet. Yeah. But no, we've literally just gone right out of the square on everything we ever do. Fundraising, like Ryan said, we've always been very, very community minded. I think that's what's got us through some of the tough times. And we have raised thousands upon thousands upon thousands. You know, and with our seniors, we built 2 classrooms in Kenya. We got involved with that. And we got invited to Kenya because they wanted to meet us. And I said to Joy, fancy going to Kenya? She went, no. I said, come on. She went, no. Yeah. You know, I managed to get out the night before we were due to go. I managed to get her to go. And we got out there and we were going to see this very, very poor school. And we donated $1,600 for them to build 2 new toilets, long drops. And when we got there, the school gave us the money back because the Kenyan government stepped in and given them the money. And they said, would you like to look at another poor school? So I said, yes, let's go. So we went to a place called Sunoco. It's the same size as, yes, it's like a little bit outback post, bit like Uganda, away from the main town of Kitale. And Kitale is the same size as Gawler, but where you got 20,000 here, they had 1 million people in there. So we went there and met the children, and we ended up building, instead of the long drops, we ended up building 2 brand new classrooms for them, out of raising money with the seniors at the silver screenings. We've just recently raised some money for the Gawler Health for some palliative care beds that they wanted. We handed them a cheque just before we went on holiday recently for just over $2,000. While we were doing that, the Royal Flying Doctor Service rang up and said, we hear you're very good at fundraising, could you help us out? You know, so we said yes, we'd give that one a go, and we handed them $2,100, and that took about 4 or 5 weeks to do that. But the funny part about it is, the day before, a lady won our raffles, and I said, what would you like, a $30 voucher or a copy of my book? She said, I'll have a signed copy of your book, John. I went, okay. I said, what's your name? She went, Elizabeth Taylor. I went, oh, get out of here. So on the day we're handing out the money to the Gawler Health and also to the Flying Doctor, the president of the Royal Flying Doctor came in, and I said to him, well, before I introduce you, could I have your name, please? He went, yeah, that's right. He said, Harold Wilson. I went, Elizabeth Taylor on one side, Harold Wilson on the other side. So, but, you know, so that was good. But after we finished that, and this is all still to do with cinemas, we're still playing movies, but we're using it to benefit other people as well at the same time, you know. And Joy said to me, I said to Joy, well, while we're doing this, let's keep it running. Because no one's complained about $2 for a raffle ticket. And she said, who do you want to do it with now? So I went, let's do Ronald McDonald House. Yeah, I mean, so I got in touch with Ronald McDonald House, said we'd like to do this, raise some money for you. Could you send us something up? So within about an hour, we had something ready to go on the screen. And to date, I think we're sitting with about $2,500 ready, but we're not going to give it to them until Christmas. We want to keep the whole thing running until Christmas. she has no idea what we've raised, and then hopefully by Christmas we'll have $5,000 or $6,000 we can hand over to them. You know, and again, that's come through the seniors. Now, with the new theatre, because we went digital, well, we had to go digital because they stopped making 35 mils. And in the old days, the film used to come up in boxes like this, you know, with the film in there, and then you'd make it up and put it onto another reel that size, and then you'd either play it on 2 projectors, you know, the first half of the film on one, and then you click over to the other half, or then we bought a platter system where you can make the whole film up onto one board, and then you pull out the centre, thread it, goes through the projector, and then comes back and gets wound back, so there's no rewinding whatsoever. So it's all done automatically. But now we've got the new digital theatres. That's the size of a full-length film.
Good grief.
Yeah. Wow. And you ingest it into the LMS, yep, and put it in there, it gets recorded, and then you can transfer it from Cinema 1 to Cinema 2, so you could have a 10 o'clock session over there, you can have a 1 o'clock session in Cinema 2, and that just runs automatically. Program it, the guy comes in on Wednesdays, programs for the whole week, and we don't see him no more till the following Wednesday. So the girls go up, push a switch in the morning, and it starts up, finishes when the film finishes, the next one kicks in and starts up, and that goes right through till midnight, and then the girls just go up and turn off the projectors. The next morning, switch them on, and it all starts again. It runs through the whole week. The biggest problem I had in the early days was the projectionists. They are like chefs, prima donnas. Yeah. If you don't do it my way, stuff you, we're out of here. Yeah. And you've got a full house of people, you can't afford to let them walk out. Yeah. Because I never learned how to be a projectionist, I never wanted to be a projectionist. And so by going digital, we've got rid of all the projectionists. I've still got a couple, but we're not so reliant on them anymore, and they know it. So that's worked out really, really well for us. But over the years, it's how long we've been here. I've had 8 people go out on long service leave. Yeah, so that's a lot of months in there. So it goes to show that they are happy working there, so which is good for all of us. It is a good environment. We've employed 416 people since Payline came in, and we started giving it out to them to pay the wages. And a lot of our young people have gone on to much bigger and better things. One boy started with us at 14 and a half, and now he's the national manager in the USA for Cotton On, and he's in charge of Texas, Florida and California. Yeah, and he's really doing well. He lives in Malibu, you know, so he ain't done too bad for himself. You know, another one was a famous opera singer from the Barossa Valley. He worked for us for a while, and so it's been a good environment, and it's a good stepping stone for them because they get to meet people, they get to understand what it's like to be polite. Yeah. Well, we've had some crazy ones as well. We had one girl, you know, she said, John, does ice melt in water? I went, what do you reckon? John, I'm asking you, does ice melt in water? I said, of course it does. Yeah. So, but we've had to learn a whole new language though, but with these, you know, the DCP, which is the film, that cuts digital cinema package, that's how it comes in. LMS, it's all half words now these days. Library management system, that's where you put the film in and then you decide where you're going to send it. And then you've got the KDM, so before you can screen the film, and this is where they've got us now, if you don't pay your bills, you need a password to start your film up every time. And if you don't pay your bills, there's no password. You can have the film, but you can't screen it. A couple of funny things that have been happened over the years. You know, we have one woman, do you have Saturday morning kids club on Wednesdays? We used to have across the road where Cunningham's was, every night about 9:30, a bloke used to come down the alleyway there and stand there naked in front of the cinema. we could never catch him, but you know, he used to be there. You'd walk out and there he'd stand there stark naked. walked in the cinema one day after the seniors, and I walked in and I looked at the seat in the front row. I went, oh my God. You know, so I went out and I said to my staff, come and have a look at this. I went, what's wrong? Is it trashed? I went, no, come and have a look. And we walked in, I went, what do you reckon of that? There was a full set of dentures sitting on the seat. And they said, well, how are we going to give them back? I said, I wouldn't worry. I said, because sooner or later she's going to realise she hasn't got them in her mouth. The Bilby story, this is the classic. I was helping some lady in one morning, and it's all right to talk funny stuff. And it's,
Yeah.
I was helping this lady in the cinema one morning, and helping her up the disabled ramp, and it was a beautiful morning, isn't it? She went, John said, every morning's beautiful. And as I'm helping her up, this great big rat ran right past me into the theatre. Well, I've never seen 80 people lift their legs up so fast. And I went, and I'm petrified of rats, you know. And I went, running, oh God. You know, I said to everybody, do you see that? I went, yes, we did. I went, and it went and sat in the front row, just behind. See? And I looked over, and I went, oh, you know. So I went out, and there was a school teacher outside. She went, tell him it's a bilby. I went running back in. I went, don't worry everybody, it's not what you think it is, it's a bilby. And someone at the back shouted out, we don't have them down here. I went running back out. I said, it's not a bilby. She went, tell him it's a bandicoot then. Anyway, after, we sat there for 2 movies, and I said, if anybody sees it move, send him out because he hasn't bought a ticket yet. So he sat there. So in the afternoon, I've got to get rid of this because we had a clairvoyant coming in that night to do spirit these things. You know? And I thought, you don't want this thing running out in the middle of all this. So I rang up the animal welfare, not interested. Went to the council offices, they weren't interested. Got in touch with the people, pest recovery people, and they were down at Victor Harbour. So I rang my pest control man. He went, show me a photo, John. So I took a photo. I went, wow, what a beauty. Oh, it might be for you. So anyway, so in the afternoon, he said, I'll ring someone. So he rang this woman up at Adelaide Plains. And she said, I'll be in later on this afternoon. I told her in between films. So she came in, and I thought it was Steve Irwin walking through the door. You know, she's got khaki shorts on, great big boots, great big long stick with a net on the end of it, hat. I went, it's only a little tiddly thing in a great big box like this. So she looked over, she went, oh my God. I said, what? She went, it's a miniature kangaroo. I went, oh no. Bandicoot. Bilby. You know, now it's a miniature kangaroo. It was a rat, you know, but it'd been baited. So that's why it didn't move all afternoon. But no, I've had some crazy bits down there. But when Joy first came to work for me, we was cleaning the cinema too, and she was there all dressed up with her high heel shoes. And I said, Joy, could you just go in that door there and go through the other door and get me a cloth so I can wipe one of the seats down? Okay, John. So she's opened the door, then raced into the other door, and there's 250 people sitting there all watching the film. And she went absolutely berserk at me. I've never seen a woman run so fast in high heel shoes. But you can't pull pranks with her. But overall, it's been really, really good. But I'm just trying to find a piece of paper that I had here.
Bit on the floor.
Yeah, first. I had the highest grossing films. But the Zoe McDonald one, that was one that came out the blue. I was in bed one morning about 3 o'clock, and Joy went, I've got a good idea. I went, yeah, so have I. Go back to sleep. Yeah. So she said, why don't we get a clairvoyant in, a spiritual person? And she said, we've got the seats, it's comfortable. I went, okay, if this is what you want to do, give it a go. Well, she's been coming, what, 2 years now? 3? And she sells out every single time. Every single time we have a full house there. And but the very first night she was in there, and Joy and I both went in to listen to her. And at the end of it, she says, "Has anybody got any questions?" I went, oh, with that, Joy's gone, oh no. So she's got up and moved out. She went, yes, what would you like to know? I said, well, as the owner of this theatre, at night time it gets very dark here. I said, are you taking all these spirits home with you? She said, don't worry, John, I'll cleanse the place. But do you want me to kick going?
Yeah.
Yeah? I think I've just about covered everything, really. Remember the film Titanic? Mm-hmm. 1997. I sat there with Anne Wills. We were down at Chelsea. It was a very private screening before it got released, and I'm sitting next to Anne. I said, Anne, this is never going to work. Too long. She said, John, it's going to be huge. I went, okay. So we had it, and it was huge. But I decided to put an interval in the middle of it because it was so long. And I waited sort of bit where they're on in the back of the car, and the finger marks are going down with the steam in the back of the car. And interval, you know, and it was hard work trying to find a piece of tape that said interval, whereas in the old days everyone had it all the time. And we had this for a week, and we were earning $2,000 extra on the candy bar while having a 10-minute break. Yeah. And all of a sudden I got a phone call from Fox in Sydney. I hear you're showing an interval in the middle of Titanic. I went, yes. Who told you could do that? I said, well, no one said I couldn't. No one said I couldn't. Well, I'm telling you now, James Cameron is furious with you for putting an interval in the middle of his film. He made it all the way back to Hollywood. So I went, will you get James Cameron to ring me? I said, because we've got a lot of elderly people in Gawler, and if he wants them to see all of his film, they need to go to the toilet. Yeah. Stop it, otherwise you'll have no more films. And I cancelled the interval. You know. And in the old days, everybody had intervals in all of them. You know. So, but no, it's been really, really good. I don't know how long I can keep doing it for. The ozone was there for 33 years. I've been there for, as I say, 26. It'll be 27 next year after December. I think, in theory, that makes me, in history, the longest owner-operator that's run a theatre in Gawler, ever. So, because the ozone changed hands quite a few times, and the other ones all changed hands, whereas this one has been one person right from day one. So, I should make your history book one day.
Yes.
Yeah. But I wish I could find the bit with all the names of the. Here we go. What do you reckon the #1 film was in Australia? Best box office figure?
Skippy.
Skippy. Crocodile Dundee.
Skippy.
Gone with the Wind.
Yep. No. Mad Max, Fury Road. Yeah. Took $375,836. Next one was Crocodile Dundee, 328 million. Australia with Nicole Kidman, yeah, 211 million. Babe, there you go, Babe, Happy Feet, Lion, Moulin Rouge, Dressmaker, Crocodile Dundee, and surprisingly not, number 10 was Strictly Ballroom, and I thought that would have done better than that. Yeah. So, but it's a very, very interesting business though, because you can be going, like school holidays now, we're really, really busy. I mean, if some of you come past some days, you can see up to 6 or 7 big coaches out the front there. And that's another thing I've got with this parking fee, you know, this 42,000 and 10,500. I paid that to have that parking down there. Now, because there's parking restrictions in the top end of the street, everyone up the top end is coming down our end and parking, and none of our customers can get near the cinema now during the day because they're all there permanently. And I see them walk all the way back up Murray Street to go to work, which I think is a bit unfair. So what did that $52,000 do me? You know?
Not a lot.
No. So, but as I say, the game is all over the place, and you can have really good films. School holidays is brilliant. We can go from 60 or 70,000 a week, and then after the school holidays drop down to about 7 or 8,000. So it is a hell of a dive. Yeah. But no, I think that's about it. Do you think of anything else, John? What? The longest? Oh, yeah. the longest running film, yeah, was Red Dog.
Oh.
First one, yeah. And I actually tracked down the dog that was on the poster, and it lived out of Freeling, and it was Dunstan, yeah. And I asked the owner if he'd bring him into the theatre, and we had both cinemas, Cinema 1 and Cinema 2, sold out with our silver screenings. It's the first time I'd ever done that one. Nobody knew we were bringing the dog in, and the dog walked in with a scarf around his neck, and he had his photo done with everybody in both theatres. The owner got up and done a talk about making the movie with the dogs, and I looked round, and then the film was about to start, and Dunstan's jumped up on the seat next to his owner and is watching his own film. and halfway through the film, he's walking down, the owner's walking out down the centre part of the theatre, and I went, something wrong? He went, no, just taking him for a week. And then brought him back, and he jumped back up and see and watched the rest of the film. But unfortunately, he died now, so, but I did bring him along to Rotary.
Village Fair.
Village Fair, yeah. So, which was really good.
Yeah, we've got pictures of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, anything else, John? No? Sorry? Oh.
The end joke.
End joke. Well, you can't have a cinema without a joke, can you?
No.
So, there's this guy. Well, there's this usher goes into the cinema and sees this guy laying across the 3 seats in the front row. And she knows it's going to be really, really busy and it's sold out and every seat's gone. So she says, excuse me, sir, would you mind sitting up, please? We need every seat. Nothing. She went, I'm asking you, would you please sit up? You've only paid for 1 seat and we need the other 2. And he still said nothing. So she went, all right, I'm going to go and get the manager. So the manager came in. He went, sir, you've been asked to sit up. Would you mind sitting up, please? You've only paid for the 1 seat and we need the others. Still hadn't moved. She said, all right, I'll go and get a policeman. So a copper came in. He went, all right, mate. He says, what's your name? He went, Fred. He went, where'd you come from, Fred? He went, up there. Balcony. He fell over the top. I hope that wasn't too boring. I have been absolutely dreading this.
There must be questions and comments.
It's not to do with the cinema, but I know that you're heavily involved in the Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. Can you just give us a couple of minutes on how you organised the Christmas tree event? That was a big event for 2 or 3 years.
Do you remember the Christmas tree? Yeah.
Reed Street.
Okay, yeah.
Jacob Street.
Well, I got involved in that accidentally. You know, I was the lead member of it, but Derek's such a friend of mine, and he was my mentor. We'd been broke a couple of times, and every time I got in a bit of trouble, I used to go and sit and have a chat with him. He was a good one to bounce off of. And one Easter, I learned that he'd passed away. So I asked if it'd be okay if I could go to the funeral, and everybody said, you don't ask to go to funerals, you just go. I went, oh, okay. So I went along to the funeral, and afterwards I was talking to Craig Barnett, who's since passed away as well, and he was trying to raise some money, for, I don't know what for, but I went back to Cafe Nova, which was Emily's restaurant in them days, and I got talking to Cora Such, he's Derek's wife, and I said, what was Derek's favourite thing that he loved? She said he loved his Christmas tree, and because when the shops got burnt out around there, he had to move, and the Christmas tree went into decline. And so I said, well, how much did it cost to do the Christmas tree? So she said, about $4,000 a year to put all the lights on. So I went, okay, I can do that. So, you know, I thought, well, I'd do it as a fundraiser, not a fundraiser, for a promotion for Movieland. And so we started delving into it. But I didn't want to do the big lights like the old globes. I wanted to do this new bud lighting system that come out. And so we formed a little committee, and we started fundraising, and unbeknown to me, this young woman sort of steps into the circle one day, and it's Derek's daughter-in-law, Joy. And so we started fundraising together, and something blossomed. And we ended up putting, I think it was 42,000 lights on the Christmas tree, and we raised $46,000 from June to November to pay for the lights to go up on the tree. And we did it for 3 years. First year we got, you'll be happy with this one, Dean Brown and John Hewson came over with his wife Caroline from Canberra, and it was the same night as the street festival, and we were all up at the top of Cafe Nova having drinks before we go and light the tree for the first time. And Dean Brown and John Hewson come up to me and I said, "How do we get to your Christmas tree, John?" And I'd spent all afternoon with a special branch telling them how we're going to get them there. And I went, "Oh God," I said, "I'd love you to walk up the main street with me in Gawler with the street festival." And he went, "Okay, let's do it." And the coppers are getting annoyed. Yeah, so they were all walking up the street, and John Hewson standing beside me, and someone shouted out, "What about your GST now, you wanker?" Sorry about that. He went, "No, I get it all the time, John." Yeah. So we did it that year, and I think we had about 6,000 people around the tree for the official lighting. The following year, I asked Bats and Pilco. We went to see Bats and Pilco, and they came up and compared the show for us, and we had Daryl Summers came in with Pluck It Up, and it just happened to be the same week that they blew up this house down in 12th Street, I think it was, and Pluck It Up come with a big plunger to light the Christmas tree. So it's perfect timing. And then it was the third year. We had the Warner Brothers Looney Tune characters, and every year it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, and when the sponsors, we had Qantas, Sun Lover Holidays, SA Breweries, the wineries. You know, we had the biggest sponsorship of people, and everything we were doing, we really didn't have a license to do it. We just went ahead and done it. You know, and that was the only way to get it done. You know. So we did it for 3 years, Joy and I, and I think we were just about burnt out, weren't we, at the end of it. It used to take a whole year, from when we lit it that night to the next morning we'd start fundraising again for next year. But a good story though, is the night we lit the last one, the Gawler Arms opened up. It was their very first night, and they were having a practice run with all these people in the street. So but there was, I think it was about 20,000 people in the street. Wednesday night, totally free show for everybody. And the next day I got all the volunteers. I said, "Come on, we'll go up the Gawler Arms and I'll buy everybody lunch, you know, for helping me." You know, I walked in the Gawler Arms, and because I had a short sleeve shirt on, tattoos, and I went, "Where do you think you're going?" I went, "Having a meal." "Not with them on your arms, you're not." I said, "Get out of here." I said, "I filled the place up for you last night." "No, you can't come in, not with tattoos on." So he went, "I'll tell you what, John," he said, "sit right down the back when you come in." So I had to sit right down the back. And Gary Adio, my #1 man who helped me the most with the volunteers, I invited him, but he never turned up. And I said to him months later, I said, "How come you never turned up for lunch?" He went, "They wouldn't let me in because I had long hair." Yeah. I think they've changed their policy now. Yeah. But they were really good to, and that's probably what put me in good stead in Gawler as well. You know, so I think everybody really trusts me, and they wouldn't help me with all my fundraising if they didn't, you know. So and I'm very, very fortunate, because when I do something with our seniors, I go to them and it's instant. They "Yep, John, we'll get behind you," and we start straight away. So it's been good, and there would be hundreds of thousands of dollars we've raised over the years. I have to say, I was the very first cinema to get licensed. I have a drink licence in Adelaide, and it's going back in 1991. And now we've just recently licensed the whole premises and out on the footpath as well. So I walked out there one night with a drink in my hand, and I got pulled over by the cops because, well, I didn't realise I was in Murray Street. I didn't know that was still Murray Street down there. You know, even though I get all my mail there. But no, it's a dry zone. You know, so I got warned. But now we're fully licensed down there now, so we can drink out on the footpath and you can go in and have a glass of wine or a beer in the theatre now and watch the film. So that's been really interesting. Don't know what the next move is.
Other questions? Yes, John.
What about the night the antenna disappeared?
Well, as I said, there's more funny things happening there than serious things, I think. But we had the Melbourne Cup, I think it was the second one, and I got my projectionist the night before. I said, "Could you go and check, make sure the picture's nice and clear?" So he rang me back at home and went, "John, there is no picture." I went, "What are you talking about, no picture? There's no picture." So I said, "I've got on the roof now, but look, well, somebody had got on the roof and stole all the antennas." Now, and here we are, I've got the Melbourne Cup the next morning. So I got this guy down from Stirling, and we were sold out for the Melbourne Cup, and everyone's sitting in the seats watching the movie, but all you could hear up on the roof was all over the roof. And I went in and I said, "Don't worry," I said, "this is just special effects to get you used to the hoofs going round." So we managed to get it going about half an hour before the actual races started, so we were really lucky there. But no, it's never a dull moment down there. I tell you, it is a bottomless pit.
Mary?
John, it's a comment. I would like to thank you. You gave us so much pleasure when you screened Andre Rieu.
Oh.
And it was absolutely wonderful. And I don't know if the people of Gawler know it, but we only paid half price to what they paid in Adelaide.
That's right. Well, we took it a week late on purpose because Andre wanted $40 per ticket, and we decided to go a week later, exactly the same show, and it was $20 a ticket. So it helped out all the seniors, so they were happy with that.
Karen, question?
Just a comment, really. I'd have to say you're one of the few cinemas in Adelaide, if not the only one, that offer boosted cushions for the kids, because my kids absolutely go there and love it that they can put an extra cushion on the chair and actually see over the head of an adult in front of them. So from my kids, they are absolutely over the moon that they can
Pure accident.
and they love it. They run down the aisle and they get the cushion and they put it on the seat, and I see them all doing it.
Yeah, well, no, it's a nightmare putting them away because you've only got 10 minutes, between sessions. But when we put the new seats in the theatre, everybody said, "John, you've got to have high back seats for comfort."
Yeah.
Great. High back seats are good for adults, but little kids can't see over the top of them. Yeah. So luckily I kept all my cushions, so that was good. Anybody else?
Mike Dennison.
Silly question. Why do you call it silver screening?
Well, I had to come up with a name when we first got the idea. Well, yeah, I didn't want to choose Golden Oldies because that sounded... So I said to Joy one night, well, why don't we call it Silver Screenings? Because Hollywood calls it the silver screen, right? Most of the customers we're attracting are seniors, and most of them have got silver hair. So that's how we got the name, the Silver Screenings. But with our Silver Screenings, we have buses that come from Victor Harbour, they come from Moonta, they come from Loxton, they come from Waikerie, they come from everywhere. I mean, that's a day out for them, to come down. But through the tourist office, if they want to on their own bus, for a gold coin, one of the operators, and he's here tonight, we'll hop on the bus and give them a 1 or 2 hour tour of Gawler and all the old houses and the people who live there. So it's a good thing for them as well.
Right.
Yeah, John, just reflecting back on the early cinemas, we talked about the Hoyts there, wonderful memories of going inside and seeing that cinema, but the other memories are the roll of film you got there. Once they finished filming the film, they took the reels off and they put them in those containers. I do remember, a lot of chaps would remember Teddy Allwood, that he was our taxi driver that took the reels of film to the railway station. So he'd call in at the post office and pick up the mail. In the back of his ute, his Ford sedan, he would have loaves of bread for his customers he was delivering out. He'd have a back seat full of kids that he was returning from the Catholic school to the houses. And then he would have the reels of film just chucked in the back of this, the boot. Closed the boot and away he went down to the station. Once he got to the station, those reels were left on the platform in all types of weather until the train came to bring them out, take them back into town.
Well,
They
wouldn't be that trustworthy now, though, would they?
No, and they were the good memories of that particular cinema there.
Well, where the silver screening idea came from, when I was telling you we were going to build 2 more theatres next door to us, so they sent us over. They said, why don't you go over to Melbourne and have a look at the Taj Mahals over there? And we went across to Richmond to have a look at their big theatre, and it was owned by Stephen Anderson, who owned the Hoyts one in Salisbury. And while we were there, they said, John, why don't you nip round to Glen Waverley and have a look at that little theatre there? So they said they're in the same predicament as you, and it used to be a single screen theatre, but right opposite them, a 12-screen roadshow theatre complex opened up, and you'd think automatically, God, I must be dead, your business is going to die. And so they suggested he actually cut his theatre in half instead of a 250 seat one, make 2 100-seaters and change the sound system. And he did exactly that, but the sound system was so good that the restaurant upstairs, the glasses used to go and drop on the floor. So the Chinese bloke got fed up with it, and so he sold out to the cinema. Well, the cinema man then went upstairs in the Chinese restaurant and put 2 25-seat cinema studio theatres in. So he's gone from 1 to 4, and we met up with him, and he told us exactly what he was doing. And what he did, he tapped into all the school buses that were taking kids to school. And once they dropped the kids off at school, then he went to retirement villages, nursing homes, and picked up people and brought them to his theatre. And when we got there at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, and it was packed solid, we went across the road to the big one, and you could fire a cannon in there and not hit anybody. And he was, and he told us what food these seniors like to eat, what sandwiches, and he was really, really helpful. And we're in our 14th year now with silver screens. Yeah, and it's every day. We started off, we thought if we could have one a month, we'd be happy. One a fortnight would be ecstatic. It's every day outside of school holidays, every single morning, Monday to Friday. Yeah, so really, really good. We're pleased. You want me to stop?
One last question.
Well, it was not a question, it's more or less a comment. John, are you aware that the Austral still exists?
No. I know the building does.
The building does?
Yeah.
It's, I do remember it years ago, going in through it. It's a 2/3 brick building with a 1/3 tin.
Yeah. I think that's where Tony Piccolo had his office.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just south of Stoneball and
Yeah.
Yard. And it had the most ornate ceilings and the most magnificent backdrop and stage, plus a grand piano stage. And when the air conditioning joint went into it, they smashed out the back wall and put a roller door in it. I forget who the air conditioning one was.
Mannix.
But it was Mannix, that's right.
Yeah.
It was the most for a scangy looking building. It had the most magnificent ornate ceilings and stage area.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to me, because when I was in the little video shop in the Ozone, it was raining one day, and I didn't know I was in the theatre then. It was just back in the early 80s, and it was raining, so I got the ladder out and lifted the ceiling tile, and when I took the tile off, there was this absolutely gorgeous ceiling from the old Ozone, in the ornate, but you could see where the balcony was, that down the side, you know, where they took it out. And that's why, for those who come to the cinema, you see we've got a balcony in our theatre, you know, where the 2 little old boys from the Muppets sit there. Yeah, because that's lovely. I'm tearing tickets some days, and they say, can we sit anywhere we want? I went, well, provided nobody else is sitting there, of course. Yeah, but you can't sit in the balcony, it's full. Have you got a balcony? I went, yep. And they walk in, then you hear them laugh.